Presentation from Tri-County Women's Center, Kathleen Mooney, and she also has somebody with her. You can introduce yourself and
Thank you. Do we need
mic
this?
is on.
Mic's on? All right. I'm Kathleen Mooney.
Closer to the mic, I think.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, all right.
I'm Kathleen Mooney, and I'm with the Tri-County Women's Center. This is Melissa Amiro, and I'm the coordinator. You might recall that I met with you a while back, starting a project called Women's Economic Security, and I guess we toyed around with different ideas of what we could do to try to help women on low incomes earn a living. So we thought that a social enterprise might be the way to go. Social enterprise is really just a nonprofit business or a business that is owned or operated under the wing of a nonprofit organization, I should say. So the business can make money, it's fine, it's okay to make money. The profits have to be distributed all back into the company and to the participants, to the employees, and to grow the company. So that's as simple as that. So we tried to figure out through community consultations what kind of a business would work in our area, and as you know, we have a depressed economy, so it took a while to try to figure something out. But what we discovered along the way is that there seemed to be a growing population of seniors here, we know that, but that there was also a need for services for seniors in our area. So there's an organization that you're all familiar with called the Yarmouth Argyle Home Care Home Support Agency, and they provide the kinds of services in home supports to seniors. What is happening now is that with our growing aging population, it seems like there's a long wait list at that agency, and that seniors seem to wait for a long, long time for their service. So the Department of Health Continuing Care came up with a new solution, and that's the handout you just got, the sheet called Lend a Hand program. So that is not our program. I just want to clarify that that's a continuing care program. You received a postcard or an email, and we had little postcards. Maybe Melissa can distribute them while I speak. So our goal is to try to fill and bridge a gap that's existing now. We will try to do things that the Yarmouth Argyle Home Care Support Agency doesn't seem to be able to have time to do. So they provide services which you're familiar with: respite care, personal care, housekeeping, meal preparation, a lot of different things like that. Because they have such a long wait list, they try to get to the more urgent cases first, and so people who need less urgent things but that are still important, such as help with grocery shopping or housekeeping or meal preparation, are placed at the end of the list. So we're attempting to come in as a new organization and actually relieve them of that chore. So we're really not in competition with them. I think there's probably plenty of business for a lot of groups. So we're attempting to do that. So the little postcard, as you will see on the back, the services that we provide are housekeeping, laundry, meal preparation, transportation to appointments, and on the very end you'll see assistance with grocery shopping. So what that means is we're not running not trying to replace a Huts Transit, and we don't have the capacity for transporting a lot of seniors. But we could send out a worker to go pick up a senior at their home, bring them to a medical appointment at the hospital or to a doctor, or to any appointment for that matter, or bring them to the grocery store, go into the grocery store, help them get the groceries off the shelf, bring them home, unpack, and the whole thing. And that's a service that the Yarmouth Argyle Home Support Agency doesn't do, the assisted transportation to appointments or grocery shopping. So that's a little bit unique to us. In addition, we'll do lawn care, mow lawns, wood management, and what that means is we will not chainsaw or cut or block wood, but we will stack it and bring it from the outdoors into their home or their woodshed, or etc., on a regular basis. And that could be on the same day that they do the housekeeping. That might take 15 minutes. We will provide companionship if people are lonely and elderly and have no family around. And we'll do any other odd job that might seem reasonable, like cleaning out the the back of a cupboard or a closet, things they can't reach. So our project coordinator is Melissa Muro, and I should mention that we've trained a bunch of women. We have trained 15 women in March. We gave them 4 weeks of training, and so we do have a little bit of a staff. I have to admit that since then, and in the interim to get going, some have found work, but we do have a number of people who are willing to work for us, and we're also open to other ideas. If somebody, know people in the community that would like part-time work, we're also collecting resumes in case. So I'll hand it over to Melissa, who will talk to you about the Lend a Hand program. And although this is not our program, as I mentioned, we can at least explain this to you in case you're not aware of it.
Thanks. So the Lend a Hand program, can you hear me? Okay. It's a program through Continuing Care, which is based out of the hospital in Yarmouth. It's pretty simple as to what's on the page. The process is if a senior is interested in having one of the services on the back of the card, they call the number at the bottom on the right-hand side, and a care coordinator is sent out, does an interview with them, goes through the process, what they're looking for, how often. It depends on their income, which is also listed on the page. For a single person, it's $22,000. For a married couple, it's $37,000 or below. They have to show a demonstrated need for the particular service that they're asking for to have it paid through these folks. So I use the example of a lady who has arthritis isn't able to push her vacuum cleaner very well, so she can actually have that service paid for. Washing her floors, her laundry, bed changing. Right now, we do have a few that we're sending out for grocery shopping, and they're having a blast. They're getting out and socializing a little bit. Outside of that, I think that's about it as far as the Lend a Hand program is concerned. Did I miss anything? I don't think.
We probably should mention to you that we have just found out this morning that they ran out of money this year in the Lend a Hand program.
Kind of ran out
So
of money.
they kind of ran out of money. They expected that. So what happened is last year they received $100,000 in the district health authority here, and they went through it, and they actually had enough to last a year, so it went quite well. And in year 2, they're out of money now, and the fiscal year end, as you know, is the end of March. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware. They are looking for more money, and they may find some. We're certainly hoping that they will. So we're simply doing our job and promoting our service. If someone has a higher income than that is on the form here and doesn't qualify because of their income level and they want to pay out of their own pocket, we are also looking for clients who can afford to pay. And it could be veterans or people who have private insurances or people who have saved enough money and are able to pay on their own. So we're not just serving people who go through the Lend a Hand program. So we're here to present this to you as an opportunity to, I guess, have some information about services that are out there for seniors so that you, when speaking to seniors in your community, you'll know that this is available. And Melissa's phone number is on the back of the card. And that's basically it.
Councillor Ludlow, did you have a...
First off, thank you for your presentation. Quite frankly, you couldn't have come at a better time. I just today received a question. A senior called me in regards to lawn care. She can't take care of her own lawn anymore, and she is definitely low income, as she stated. And I've been phoning around all day, actually looking for any sort of assistance or help in any way. So kind of a little bit of a godsend, I guess. So it's as simple, I guess my question is, it's just as simple as calling the toll-free number at the bottom,
Yeah.
and going through the process of application.
Yes, and there could be a wait time of, we're told, about 4 to 6 weeks before
Right.
they get the assessment for
Okay.
continuing care.
Right.
And the other thing I should mention is the seniors are required to have their own lawn mowing gear, their
Okay.
lawn mowers.
Okay. Excellent.
We
Great.
don't have lawn mowers.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Surratt?
Did you, have you contacted, or one of our senior coordinator knows about this?
Yes.
For the municipality of Argyle?
Yes.
She would be aware.
Peggy Woodrow?
Peggy Woodrow, yes, she would be
They've been
aware
involved with us since
of
we
this.
started thinking about this.
Oh,
So,
okay, right
yes,
on.
They're aware.
Any of your staff, I'm sure you all have to go through police checks and that
Yes.
stuff, that's all?
Good- that's a good
That's
question.
all,
We did.
that's all done?
We have
and,
police checks. We are asking them to get a driver's abstract and to
Sure.
provide, or to boost up the insurance on their vehicles so that they'll be covered.
Yes, very
And
good.
in addition, the training they've received includes things like CPR, WMIS, first aid.
Stuff like that.
basic-
Good.
Yeah, food handling.
Oh, yeah.
Great program, thank you.
Councillor Muse?
I guess my, one of my questions was answered, the same question that Councillor Surratt had. You say they had no more money now,
That's
so are you still providing these for the
We-
remainder of this fiscal year?
We would provide the service to anyone right now who, say, happens to have the income to pay immediately.
But not the people who cannot pay?
We're not sure what will happen. They're being assessed by continuing care.
Yes,
We were told that they would send the clients to us, but we've discovered, and that's why we found out, we've discovered that they have not. And we knew because we had gone to meet with the clients and suggested they called. And so if they find money, I think that we will get the clients
Okay.
again.
yeah. Thank you.
It's a good idea for them to go through the assessment so that when they do receive the money, they'll be ready
Then
to
they'll be
go.
ready,
Yes.
ready to get the
Yeah.
service.
We do, and we do a few things extra that continuing, or home care doesn't do, which is the grocery
Yes.
service, the lawn care. So I'm going to say that there's probably a little pot of money
Set aside.
set
maybe.
aside for particular
Maybe.
jobs,
We're
maybe.
hoping,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, for those things, yeah.
And, you know, I'm presuming that many of you would not have heard of this lend-a-hand program through continuing care. And the reason is that there's so little money available that they're probably not placing ads in the paper or doing presentations to council. So, in any case, we feel that we should promote our business and promote this service. And I think it's a solution to some needs that seniors have right now in our community.
Okay, Surratt?
Just to be sure I'm clear, if there's no money, why should we call you? You know, it seems to me like you don't have any money, so, but
Well,
is.
some of the
so-
seniors you speak with could have their own money. and
That's
and
why,
and
okay.
therefore, we can provide service immediately.
Okay, but without any money,
Well,
if they
if-
don't have any money, then it's no go,
Well, until they receive other funding, and which they're looking for.
which could be March.
Well, it also could be in a month.
Okay,
Or a
yeah.
couple of weeks, we don't know.
Good.
And they're not able to tell us.
His lawn mowing, March is all right.
No,
Could be.
Okay. Thank you very much for the
Okay.
presentation. and we'll-
Thank you.
We'll keep your cards handy and
All right. Oops.
Okay, next item on the agenda, adoption of minutes, a regular council meeting of August the 14th. Move and seconded to approve the minutes of August the 14th, the regular council. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item is a business arising from the minutes. One, there's two attachments, 2 pages, and I think one is administration building, and the other one is streetlights, business arising from the minutes. I think if you've read that, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know, do you have anything to add to that?
On the business arising document, no. One of them is actually attached 5A, which is what we'll focus on, which is the
Yes,
boundary.
yeah. Okay, we'll go on to that one, the municipal boundary review. Huh? Okay. Yes,
Business arising. I missed the last meeting, so the boat Neil Lake, is that ongoing, staff ongoing with that?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, actually. That was a question from Councillor Albright prior to the meeting as well. So the status of that is we have identified the owner on record. We have contacted that person via phone call. He's confirmed that he had sold the boat, despite the fact that the ownership is still in his name. We contacted the person he sold it to, and he acknowledges that he in fact purchased the boat and then sold it subsequently to another person. And evidently there was probably another transaction after that. So it's left us a little bit perplexed. So the instructions from council was to establish who the owner was and get a hold of them and probably, push to have that particular owner own up to the boat and the situation. So we had drafted a letter to the original owner. We haven't issued the letter as of yet, and I think you can understand why, because we actually have a verbal acknowledgement on both ends that it was a sale and a purchase, and we're still waiting for information on a bill of sale, which the original owner believes he can put his hands on, right? So concurrently, we are looking at how that boat can come out, and so there are two properties in question that they could come out on. One of them is actually recently sold on tax sale about 2 years ago. Who actually has a connection with one of the people that used to own it. So it's really interesting. Anyway, so we're looking at pricing. Well, what I've asked Public Works to do, they haven't completed the work yet, is to get a hard price on the extraction. And so once we get that information, we do have standing offers from excavation companies that we could have them do the work on an hourly basis as well. We require permission from the original landowners in order to use their property to extract the boat.
So, if I remember a few months back, the environment deemed it not a hazardous situation. Can't somebody go with a depth sounder and find the nearest hole, tow it over to it and let it go down to the site? Wouldn't that, if there's no environmental issues, fuel, hydraulics, whatever, it's out of sight, out of mind, good fish habitat?
That's
They do it all the time for divers.
Yeah, and I think it's right now it's on the wrong side of the water. It's on the lake side.
No, but there's got to be a hole in there somewhere that will, more than 15 feet will cover it.
Yeah, I can't answer that question accurately. I do know that we've looked at I can confirm that Environment said that there wasn't any contaminants. They have given us that indication. We're also looking at the permitting from Natural Resources and other departments around because of the permitting processes. Most of them don't require a permit to extract. However, we did not ask the question, is there a permit to sink? Right, so that could be an option, Councillor, but I can't say that that's one that we've pursued yet.
That would be the cheapest one.
Well, it certainly would be, if it's allowed.
Somebody suggested maybe the next high course tide, you could haul it again under the bridge.
There were a lot of very inexpensive options around that have been suggested.
It went under the bridge, it must be able to come back out.
It should, except the
Halloween night.
what we're pursuing.
Your lawyer and your insurance company might interject.
What I can confirm is what we're looking to price the extraction.
Yeah.
If there's any way that we could do that without extraction, and that it was appropriate, be confident that we will pursue that because it's clearly less expensive. But I'm less confident that I'm not confident that there's a rule out there that won't get in the way. But I can't say that I know that for sure. But,
Thank you.
So again, it's ongoing, and we will aggressively push, and hopefully by the next meeting have a lot more information on
Thank you.
that.
So, if I go back to the business arising. Does anybody have any questions on the two items that are in that attachment? Municipal building, I think you touched on that, and the street lights.
The streetlights and the sidewalks, we talked about that in our priority setting sessions, and what council asked us to do is to work on policy. So that work's ongoing. Once that work is completed and the options are brought to you, that will come off the business arising, but we just want to make sure we don't, that you know that that's still
stays
there.
there.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Municipal boundary review.
Pardon me.
Are you, Mr. CAO, going to speak on that one, or?
I'll start, and I'm sure the author of the document, Mr. Fraughton, who is here today, will help me through as well. So this, first I'll start by saying that this is a draft document for your consideration. It is not for your approval today. What we'd like to do is get your initial thoughts and impressions around this document. I'll try to summarize it as much as possible. The document is not particularly long. It doesn't have to be long in order to meet the requirements of the UARB. And so we want to be sure that we have the changes in the way that you have asked us to present them. And we would ask that you provide your approval at the September 30th meeting. Okay? That will still be on schedule around the timelines on this project. If we do it that way. Again, we don't have to go back to the public because we selected, we didn't have to revise our options. So this document recommends a 9-councillor arrangement with some minor changes to the existing boundaries. And so each district is described. I'm not going to read those to you, but there's a pretty thorough description of the 9 districts. And then on further page, I believe this, what page is this? Page 3, the latest population figures are included, along with the estimated population by district. Okay? So this is from Statistics Canada, and how did we estimate the population on the polling districts? Is we use the same percentage of eligible voters per polling district from the election. So you have eligible voters in each district, and then you have total population, which is always higher. And so we took the percentages of the most recent polling information, which was pretty accurate because the e-voting, caused a lot of changes to our polls. That is in the districts that had elections. So clearly in the districts that didn't, our information is less reliable, but is pretty good. So we've allocated thusly. It's the same way we did it 8 years ago. So you should know that as well. Under number 4 in the document, it shows the most current elector statistics, which is shown on at table 4, I guess, or number 4 on the document. It also shows the variation in percentage. So as you remember, once you hit the 25% mark, the UARB is generally quite dissatisfied with that variance, right? So anything above 10% or below 10% is considered really not a variance. And so between 10 and 25, those variances, you really need to have a reason why, but most of the reasons are acceptable reasons in the eyes of the UARB. It's only after the 25% that it becomes particularly problematic. So if you see, there is a variation. There's a couple of variations. One in particular, District 7 at negative 22.3. So that's a smaller district. And so we've attempted to correct that. Right? So the minor changes are described under number 5, and I will go through these. The boundary between District 7 and 8 is to move the boundary southward to just north of Franks Road. So for the 2 district leaders, that's very familiar territory, right? You know where that is. Between Civic 600 and 604. This is probably the biggest change because that's the one that increases the population in District 7 and decreases the population of District 8. And so the boundary between District 7 and 6, the change to the existing moves the boundary between 7 and 6 westward to include all of the Montague Road in District 7 and including additional residences on the Green Grove Road in District 7. And the civic numbers are listed. Again, same concept, increasing population in that district, but also actually capturing the roads in their completion, right? That's a fair statement? Okay. Belleville South, existing boundary in South Belleville between District 5 and 6. We had an issue here. The resident, where the resident lived, they identified in District 5 clearly, but they were in District 6 just because where the line was drawn. So the line has been changed. We've actually changed this before. So it's the Mayflower Lane in Belleville and some of the back roads. Some of them, as they build deeper into the woods, it becomes District 6 for electoral purposes, but they're clearly, to them, they're in Belleville. So we've moved that. I think that may have impacted 2, maybe 4 voters. It's not a big one. Gableton area, Gableton area, this one had a little bit of media exposure. The boundary between District 5 and District 1 follows along the Gavel Road. And so, as you may have recalled, there were 2 or 4 residences that were on the Gavel Road, but due to the distance away from the road, were in another district. And so what we said was, well, the community of interest of Gavel Road is adjusting to include them in District 1. Okay, so that's 2, so anyway. So they self-identified as District 1 as well, if you remember. They thought they were voting in District 1, and when they realized they were in 5, that wasn't as interesting. So, no offense to 5. They call it number 1 for a reason, I guess, Councillor Muse. Anyway, so we'll move on. Pleasant Lake area, the existing boundary between 1 and 2 runs along the Egypt Road. This was another issue in the election, so there was some confusion around where Egypt Road landed. So the proposed change adjusts the boundary to the south of the residents to the south side of Egypt to include them in District 1. So they'll all be in District 1. Okay, so they'd be at the tail end of District 1, pretty much. Upper Wedgeport, existing boundary between District 2 and District 3. Minor change adjusts the boundary northward on Highway 334 between Civic 2501 and 2509. This change helps balance the numbers of voters. So very minor change, but there is a change. And so the reasons for the proposed changes, I think I have identified for the most case why we made some of them. Some of them were to correct errors, and others were to make sure that the percentage of population was closer to the middle. Letter C, I guess, moving down into the document, shows the variation, the new variation. And so you notice District 7 is now at negative 14.2 as opposed to negative 22. So that's the major difference. The others have slightly changed. And so for the rest of the information, the rest of the document describes what we did. So there's a detailed description around what we did as a municipality in order to make sure people understood what we were doing. And all the advertising is going to be included. Everything is going to be, all that information. And there is slight information around the 2 options that we've presented, the 7 and the 9, and the result of that, right?
That was in today's email.
Pardon me?
That was in today's email.
Excuse me.
The summary of the meetings and a brief description of, we got an email today on that.
Okay. Okay. Yes, that's right. Sorry, I had, So, and of course, there's maps on the back that show some of the changes as well. So I guess so that's a detailed description. Were there any questions, concerns around the document? I know that the planning department will make comments as well. They have, and so are those comments are included. Okay. So what were the comments from the planning department? So it was.
The only comment that the planning department had was point number 7, which was they're going to submit a digital copy of the boundary lines instead of a hard paper copy, and that's just to facilitate the process from going to our office to the NASCAD office, or the Elections Nova Scotia office. Sorry, that was the only point that they added. The only point I'd like to make is that in developing the report, I followed the model, the UARB model, which they give out for boundary reviews. And the only section that isn't included in their model, which we thought was important, was point number 6, which was giving them information about our geographic landscape, communities of interest, and how our public consultations went through. So we decided that we thought it was better that if we added it right in there instead of just talking about it at the hearing when the time comes. So that's the only 2 comments I have.
Thank you. Councillor Donaldson?
Yes, once they receive this information, I found what I was talking about, other relevant information that is not obligated to be part of the report. So do we have to make a decision on whether that's sent in, or is that a staff call? I'm thinking it's more of a,
It's your document.
yeah, it's more, council should decide whether they want that in there or not.
I think we would.
I don't see no problem with it, but I mean, I think it should be made official because it doesn't have to go in and it's not called for. And another point is, can they take this information, review it, and make their decision without, if they're gonna leave it alone without having a meeting with us?
What they do is those are 2 good questions. Like the first part is, this is your document, so the minimum standard would have to be done and you couldn't alter that. But if we've given more information, if council is not comfortable with that, it could clearly delete that information from the submission or add more at your discretion. So that's the answer to your first question. The second question is, once they receive the information, they set up a public hearing. So they actually, 8 years ago it was here.
Yeah.
I would fully expect them to do the same thing.
A one-member panel, it was just a one-member?
Yeah, I
panel?
believe it was the judge,
Yeah,
yes, it was Roland Devaux, yes, thank you. Yeah, it was Roland Devaux that came in, and so he would ask questions of a small group. Of course, the entire council can be present at that. Generally, it's a smaller group, and if they're satisfied with the answers to the questions, then they make the recommendation. I don't know what their process would be if they recommended a different amount of, like if they recommended a different course of action.
Public is also allowed to come to the hearing.
That's correct. So the public can actually present their own case. If a public wanted 3 councillors, they could make that presentation at that time as well.
Yeah.
There are rules to adhere to, UARB has rules to that effect, and if members of the public wish to be heard, then they have to give forewarning, et cetera, but in any event, I just wanted to add that, make sure you understand it. I don't think any members of the public can arrive and simply say, I want to say something. I think that's difficult. They may be able to, but unlikely.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Richard?
no, I was just wondering if are we passing this report tonight? Is that what you're looking for?
You said no,
That's again, that's up to you. It certainly wasn't our intention for you to do that necessarily. You may want to absorb this document a little longer and come out with a, we certainly don't need that approval today.
Yeah, well, I've read this email Chris sent last night, I read it today, but, I'm not sure if everybody has. I mean, there's a fair bit of information there at the end that's going in with the report that doesn't have to be there. I have no issue with it. Somebody else might. Basically-
I don't either. I guess it's just ammunition. It's just more information that they will have.
Basically, it just describes public meetings we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read it all and I'm prepared to approve it tonight. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Correct.
I think it's a very good document that, everything that I've read it from one end to the other, and, I'm prepared to vote for it. I'm gonna vote, for it. So bring it on, because we have a motion.
Any more comments or questions? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
I recommend that you change the citing the last paragraph to say that at its regular meeting of September 9th.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
September 30th. Yeah.
We will do that. Thank you.
yeah. Next item is the warden's report. Not very long. But I'd like to add that this morning I attended a press release in Yarmouth. The Chamber of Commerce had sent out invitations to the members, and there was they're encouraging. I passed out some forms earlier, just encouraging people to nominate companies, business people, and they've come up with some new awards, new categories this year, like a small business, 1 to 10 employees, and medium and large business. So some people are complaining it's always the big businesses that got the awards. So export achievement, I think they had that before, community impact, rising star, customer service of the year award, and hospitality and tourism. They've also said that this year they're going to be giving a list, mentioning at the celebration all those companies and people that were nominated. Not only, usually they only do 2 or 3. You know, they choose 2 or 3, and then out of those they choose 1. This year, whoever was nominated is going to be mentioned at the meeting. And he said the judges this year are going to be the award winners from last year. It's not going to be done by members of the chamber, especially. So it's going to be business people that were awarded the awards last year. There's going to be the judges, and you said that at the supper there won't be any no official speaker or speech. So that's a help too. But anyway, they're encouraging people to nominate, and as many nominations as they can get. Any questions or comments? Or if not, we go to councillors' reports. Anybody? I think Kathy Book, you had your light on.
Yeah. This summer, I've attended a few activities during the summer, which I thought were really outstanding. I went to Grand Prix, where they presented an honorary award to the Pumnicos. Each year they present a village, and the Pumnicos was awarded. And I did attend the August the 15th Fête des Acadiens, which was very nice in Amirals Hill. And I went to the Quinnen Picnic, which was very nice as usual. And also the Eastside Community Picnic we just had last Sunday. And I just want to say thank you to all the volunteers that do work for the communities. You're well appreciated. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Kathy. LeBlanc?
Really quickly, we had an immensely successful 11th annual tuna tournament this year. Well attended. Volunteers did a phenomenal job. I can't speak too much of the activities while the tournament went on, because luckily this year I got to actually go fishing. But nonetheless, it operated smoothly from what I heard. And big congratulations to Captain Joel Jacquard and the Atlantic Angler, who caught a 796-pound bluefin tuna, which was a very beautiful fish. Certainly put up quite a fight. Our annual family softball tournament was well attended, as well as the Westport Festival, the musical festival, was great. And then lastly, I was lucky enough to attend the last couple of Yarmouth International Airport meetings with our new manager, Mike Fields, who seems to be getting along just nicely and cleaning up the place quite well, from what I understand. So that's all.
Thank you. I want to thank you also for representing us at the closing ceremony.
No problem at all.
I sorry I couldn't attend, but I was at Robert Amiro's funeral, and I couldn't attend the closing ceremonies. I would like to be there. And your fall tournament, who won?
Rather not say. Y Paches. For the 4th year.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Councillor Muse?
I just want to say that this Highway 103 committee that I'm on we're meeting again. We haven't met in, I don't know, 6 or 7 months, but we're meeting again this coming Monday. And I just want to know if there's anything from council that you want me to bring up while I'm there. Any issues in this area? I know one issue that we bring up and that's the intersection in Pubnico and at Keel. Those are
And
two.
Glenwood, yeah.
That's
Both,
the
yeah.
two. That's the two that I try to keep on top of when we go to those meetings. I know the last time we were there, I was promised that they were going to do a study, but I haven't seen or haven't heard.
Yeah.
But we're going to have some representation there from Department of Transportation. There's going to be, I think, 3 people from Department of Transportation there this time. So hopefully they'll have a report or they'll have something on that. So just wanted to know, and if you have anything, just let me know before I go. So.
Okay. Is Roger Taylor your
Yeah,
chair?
he's still the chair.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Deputy Warden?
Just wanted to report that the lights on Highway 103, exit 31, are now working after about a month or two of not working and complaints. Anyway, they are working now. I'm sure Councillor Booker's noticed.
I have received a lot of complaints.
Yeah. Yeah, and also this Saturday coming on September 13th is the second annual Fall Fair in West Pubnico, in Lower West Pubnico, where the former Shop Asli was on the on old, not on old, no, on School Street. So that'll be happening all day on Saturday, where people will be bringing their prize vegetables. There'll be Oxhall and some games. It's kind of like the old-fashioned fall fair from way back. And last year was immensely popular and successful, and this year I'm pretty sure it'll be the same. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Muse?
Again, yeah, I guess I wasn't finished. I thought I was.
Oh, we didn't cut you off, you
You
just,
didn't cut me off,
I didn't think
stopped,
so.
right?
Okay. Thank you.
I've had a question and it's regarding fire departments again. And do we have such a thing? The grants that we give them, or the money that we give them, is just operating, or is there capital grants that they receive every year as well?
We do an operating grant annually. There are some of the fire departments that, if they can, they use those funds for capital purposes. We don't distinguish. We call it an operating grant. If they use it for capital, if they're able to use it for capital, they can. We do not give a capital levy or a capital grant specific for that unless there's an area rate being charged.
Only the area rate?
Yeah.
But this came from a fire department that's in both districts, right? And they
Yes.
claim that Yarmouth gives them a capital grant on a yearly basis that they can put aside when they have something purchased, or a big purchase, without going through the area rate, right? So I just wondered, I was asked why we
Yes.
weren't doing that, and I couldn't answer because I wasn't sure that we weren't.
Well, and what happens is there are two fire departments that are blended in terms of
Yes.
funding. One is East Kempt and the other is Lake Vaughan.
Yeah.
East Kempt, the Municipality of Yarmouth does things a little differently.
Yes.
They have, I think, an area rate in virtually every district, I believe, and they do have a capital component in their funding. What they don't do is support the insurance and training.
Okay.
So that's what we do. So it's kind of like it's a menu,
It's a
right?
trade-off.
Well,
kind of thing,
I'm not sure that the trade-off is exactly the same, but certainly, you know, how we do things is different. But we provide, we provide the insurance for all of the members of Lake Vaughan and East Kempt, regardless of whether, you know, where they actually service the fire. I think it's probably time, or it will be soon, to revisit the funding model for the fire departments. We did that probably, I would say 4 or 5 years ago. And in that, what we did was we moved slightly away from a per capita model. We used to have a per capita where based on the population, you get a grant. Well, what was happening was that was fine for Eelbrook, Wedgeport, and Pubnico that were densely populated, not so fine for the others.
Okay.
And so, you know, I can think of Quinnen. Quinnen was getting $8,000 grant a year, which is, you can't do anything. Islands and District was like 10, I think, or, so
think
so
what
they
we
were
did,
they were all moved to
we set a
15.
minimum, right?
Yes, and so what we said was, is regardless of your population, you're gonna get 15 for sure, for your operations. And of course, that number has increased over time. So now I believe that number is closer to 18,000.
So it's not based on the assessments or whatever, or the number of
Not the
residents,
operating
or-
grant,
Not the
no.
operating grant?
No,
okay,
it
because
used
that-
to be.
That's another question that was asked. How do you come up with the, how do you come up with these figures? Like, where do these figures come from? Because formula or whatever.
The answer to that question is, there used to be a formula, and when we looked at it 5 years ago, we said that that formula was not fair to the smaller organizations.
Okay.
And so we said, there's a minimum number that you get. So that number isn't calculated by formula, but it was established as a base. So for some organizations, they went from 8 to 15,000 or 10 to $15,000 at that time. So now 4 or 5 years has gone by and see that is now being questioned because there's transition, there's new people at the table, and so where are these numbers coming from? They're great questions to ask, right? So I think what it means is we probably have to revisit that at some point in the near future. I'd say between, you know, perhaps not this fiscal, but probably the next fiscal, we should do a thorough review of our operational funding for fire departments. We typically try to do that. Well, we don't have a set time frame, but we typically try to do that.
Okay.
So I think-
you know, 4 or 5 years.
I may be wrong, but I think the bigger ones still get the grants according to per capita? There's a minimum for the smaller ones.
Correct.
I think that's what we changed,
Correct.
right?
The basis for the big three was initially per capita, right? So that's how we continued to use that calculation. And what we've done is, we haven't reviewed the population shifts, but what we've done is given inflationary increases to those three, right?
Okay.
So they were not increased they were actually frozen for 2 or 3 years when we did this transition, because we wanted to get the funding to the smaller departments.
Yes, and you say it's per capita and not based on the amount of assessment value.
No.
That a person, you know, no, you wouldn't give them more. That's right, no. I think I'm looking at the area rate.
The area rate is certainly
It's based,
calculated on
yes,
assessment.
yeah.
There's no question about it. If they have an area rate, it's based on assessment.
Based on assessment.
And on all property except for
Exactly.
resource property. Like, so if it's, if it's considered, like, wilderness or, something that DNR would address in a fire, then it's not included in the assessment, but residential property and commercial, regardless of whether there's a home, is included in that calculation.
Okay, now,
Thank you. Councillor Bork, do you have a report?
I already did it.
Okay. Councillor Albright.
I just wanted to add that I was also at the Labor Day picnic in Quinnen. I helped serve the meal, and they just were very appreciative of the grant that they had received because they were able to do some wiring. So this year, the coffee percolator was able to run on its own, and nobody had to stand there and listen to it. So they wanted me to relay that. They were very happy about that. And I was also at the unveiling of the new sign in Tuscan. I just wanted to mention, I'm sure
yes.
you've all noticed that new sign in Tuscan. It's beautiful.
Yes, beautiful is right. That's it?
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Surratt?
This is just for Danny. When the rates, I shouldn't say the rates, but the amount for the fire department were given out or opt, whatever you want to call it, the fire association was involved in that, and some of the chiefs that were there at that time are still chiefs now. Some have changed, but there are some, like the Bruce Gates and Renard, they were involved in that discussion. So just so you would know that some of those people were there. Some have changed, obviously, but they are involved in, right, Alain?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they are, because I remember we were all involved in the
It-
discussion.
Thank you.
And they were part of they were part of the decision. Yeah, yeah.
Any more councillors' reports? If not, we'll go to CAO's report.
Uh-oh, I heard Junior. I should note.
Take your time.
Yeah, take your time, but hurry up. I wanted to just mention that I'd had questions around the cost of the sign for Tusket. And so I want to share that with you and the public. This includes HST. It was $3,428 is what it costs for that sign. Keep in mind that this sign was, there was some very particular detail on this. There's a special carving and painting that went along this, for this sign. We think for the quality of the sign that was a tremendous investment. You know, and I would be remiss to not mention the fact that there were quite a few volunteer hours involved in the planning of this and in the convincing of DOT or whoever was involved to make this happen. You know, I mean, you know, it's on private property. There were donations made by Hubert Poche as one of them. There's a lot of time, a tremendous amount of time by Don Poche, and it shows. Right. I mean, there's no question that when Don is involved in something, that it's of the highest quality, particularly around this type of work. And so it's a bit of a, I think for him, a bit of a legacy project for him to have been involved, and we were happy to have him on the team for that. So so it's 3,427. I think it's less than that once we recover the HST, but there wasn't a heck of a lot of HST on that. So
Beautiful sign.
So very quickly, ferry restoration, we're gonna get some financial information on the operations of the ferry itself. At the Industrial Commission meetings, we were getting information on the capital projects, so I expect to be billed by the town of Yarmouth for a municipal component of the capital upgrades. It's less than what you have approved by motion. And of course, respecting the motion, it's 20%. We had a CAO meeting today, and that was one of the issues that we discussed, and so discussions are ongoing, but one of the issues, of course, is what happens after everything is done, who owns this ferry terminal, and the discussion around the Port of Yarmouth assets as well, and the future of those two assets and where they go. So we had some very good discussions on that. Obviously, there's courses of action that will be recommended, and that will actually go to the Industrial Commission Board for consideration, which 5 of you are seated on. So, so that's the update to council on that. The Economic Development, REN, we engaged Angélique Leblanc, I say we, the REN, engaged Angélique Leblanc to be the CEO for the Western Regional Enterprise Network. She was the first CEO hired in Nova Scotia for the RENs. And she's housed in this office until she secured her lease for her new office. That was advantageous because I had a lot of information that I could transmit to her as part of organizing and developing the REN to this point. So they had their most recent board meeting yesterday, and they approved our proposal to do the bookkeeping services for them. So on a shorter time period than I proposed a 3-year period, but they will probably, I mean, there's an urgency around providing this service. We'll do it for probably a year, and then we'll reassess whether or not that was mutually beneficial. Mm-hmm. You know, and as I shared with you earlier by email, we wanted to be involved to make sure that the setup was appropriate and that the transparency piece around the accounting was there. And so with the Industrial Commission, we I think I've mentioned most of that. The Airport Corporation, I believe I've attended one meeting. I believe there were 2 meetings. I think Councillor LeBlanc addressed that. YASTA passed their budget since we last had a CEO report, and they confirmed the partnership of the marketing levy group. So now we have 4 partners again, each at 60,000. So we had budgeted 70, so there's a $10,000 positive variance that will happen in the budget this year. Medical clinics, we wanted, Harbor South is almost full. It will be full within a 12-month period or so, so that's great news. So then that obviously, Pubnico, we'd like to put 2 other doctors in there. There's been some development there. Unfortunately, Dr. Terry Rowland will be retiring, but Charelle Dayon will be coming in. She's not taking over his practice, but she's coming in at approximately the same time. She won't be able to take on 2,400 patients. So how we're going to get that going is still not 100% confirmed, but there will be a process in place to do that properly. And the audit committee met today, and the audit committee made an approval on the statements. So on the 30th of September, the statements will be presented to you for approval. And Brenda's has and other department heads have listed their detailed projects, summary of some of the Exit 33 work that we've done, including the sign, status update on the Dennis Point extension, sewer extension. That's going very well, and we don't have any smell at West Pubnico.
I think the Dennis Point sewer is close to being done.
It's almost done. Yeah,
Almost done.
they're missing a couple of pieces,
Yeah.
a couple of parts that
Parts, yeah.
that were lost in transition somewhere, but they're moving forward pretty fast. Unfortunately, the tennis court retrofit, which was a priority of yours, the tenders went out and closed with no bids. So we have to take a look at, we believe the issue was timing, that the people that could do the work would just simply didn't have the time. So we may have to do it at a different time of year. We're still moving ahead with it. It's just, it's frustrating when you want to move a project and it doesn't go the way that you planned. So, but that, I mean, it's understandable. I think the contractors have been extremely busy this year. Other than that, I think I'll stop there, and if there are any questions, Peter Kroll as well has submitted a very comprehensive report on his summer and the staff and what they've done. It was actually a lot of information there. And if there are any questions, it's a big report, 15 pages, hopefully informative. We have to get in the habit of doing it again.
No questions or comments? We'll go on to, next item is other business for decision. A, we've done. B, sewer capital and operating levy policy. I think that's for the West Pubnico.
Yes. So this would have been circulated a week ago.
Yep.
And the change is in yellow. We had to create a second zone for the Dennis Point extension. This policy was discussed, debated, and approved in the current form by the West Pubnico Sewer Committee. The real debate was, what would you charge somebody that would connect to the system after the system was completed in construction? And the West Pubnico Sewer Committee determined, based on the information we provided, that there should be a base connection fee, which is the same for everyone on the sewer, and the capital fee would be at $9,000 to be reduced by $500 per year until 2022-23, at which it would stay at $5,000, and that's supposed to be some representation of the depreciation of the asset over time. And to try to address the fairness issue, because the issue is, excuse me, the initial users paid an amount, and so those that come in after, from an equity perspective, should pay a similar amount, and so that's where this number was established. The Dennis Point users are different than the conventional users. They have to spend quite a bit of money to get hooked up to the sewer because it is a pressurized system, versus the others, all they had to do was run a pipe and everything else took care of itself, right? So gravity and pump stations are already pre-established. So this is different. They have to make a considerable investment in order to connect. So that was also factored in to this, to these numbers. So it's important to have policy in place so that when somebody connects, that there's very clear instructions. So I would recommend the approval, unless there were questions or concerns.
I so move.
I second.
Questions been called for? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Interfund transfer. I think you can explain that, or tell us what it's about.
I'm gonna try to explain
We've
it.
heard it at the committee level.
Yeah, so the audit committee has seen this. It's basically a change in accounting policy. And the province wishes us to account for interfund transfers a different way for capital purposes. So every time we make an interfund transfer, it's shown as an expense in one fund and a revenue in the other, with one exception until now, which was the capital purchases made by our reserves or by the operating fund. So what would happen in those cases, there might be, let's say there's a $100,000 project, the $100,000 would show as due to a fund, and on the other side, it would be due from. So it would be on the balance sheet rather than on an income statement. So the province asked questions around that. I didn't really like the way it was being treated because it gummed up the balance sheet. The recommended motion fixes that so that the auditors, staff, financial staff, and the province are all equally satisfied that this is a superior way to present the financial information. And so all of these due to from accounts that relate to capital projects will disappear. And in the future, every time that happens, it becomes a transfer. It shows like no different than any other activity. So I will say that at the time we made the change, the province had recommended the way that we were doing it before. So they are changing that recommendation, and we like it this way. So this is not, there's no money moving. This is an accounting transaction. It's a paper transaction. There is definitely no money moving back and forth, and the recommendation would be, and the suggested motion would be to approve the adjustment of $5,643,211 to the capital reserve, and the adjustment of $475,919 to the operating fund, thereby eliminating the interfund amounts owing on the non-consolidated financial statements. So this had absolutely no impact whatsoever on your consolidated statements, because once we consolidate everything, all that stuff disappears. Okay? So this is only on the non-audited, non-consolidated statements. So I would recommend that council approve this. It's cleaner if it's done by motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
I was gonna make the motion, that's fine.
We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Request for tax adjustment, tax sale expenses. This has been going on for some time, I guess.
Yeah, this one's been on the agenda for a bit. I don't know, I think the background information is fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
It's an error. It's an error that the property owner had absolutely no part in. And so I'm recommending that the $450 that has been charged over 3 years at $150 each year be written off for property 04438272 as it was charged in error. And so that would impact our current year financial statements to that amount, by that amount. And the property owner has made the commitment to pay the remaining balance.
Pay the taxes.
Pay the taxes plus the interest
Plus-
that has been accumulating because as a taxpayer, he would have had the responsibility to try to rectify this error
yes.
in an expeditious way, but that didn't happen. So
He's paying interest and the taxes, but he's not paying the expenses of title search and whatever.
the tax sale is correct. So
Tax sale
the balance
expense,
on the account was like $977, and so $450 will come off. He'll pay the difference.
Yeah,
Which includes interest.
yeah. Okay. We have
So, second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hospital parking fee resolution, Municipality of Barrington. You received a letter, I guess, addressed to me. I hope you've had a chance to read this. It's not very long. I don't know what you people think of it. What's the wish of council?
Do we actually need a motion on this, or just asking to see that we support this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it is.
it basically, I think that would be my interpretation as well,
Yeah.
that they're looking for your support at the UNSM table. I don't think you have to make a motion to support this now. What I wasn't clear on is whether there was any effort to go to the DHA, because this is actually not a UNSM issue. I'd be surprised that the UNSM actually passes a resolution to ask the province, to ask the DHA, to ask them to change a price, right? Because this is really operational at the DHA level, so I don't know, I didn't get the answer to the question whether they sent this to the DHA or not, right? Which would be the organization that's actually charging the fee, right?
I doubt whether the resolutions committee will accept, will
That's what I was gonna say.
propose
It
it.
has to be approved by the resolution committee first.
Yeah,
To even make it to the floor.
Correct.
Or they may put it on and recommend non-concurrence of it as well.
yeah. Okay.
So-
Non,
Sorry, so the reason why I added it, obviously, was for the warden's, attention, which would make it go to council, but if there's
Yeah.
anything that you require from staff in order to get information to support or not, that's another reason why I brought it here, because no sense passing a motion here, they want the support
No.
at the UNSM, but if there's
That's
any
right.
information that you request of staff, then
Yeah.
I can get that for you.
Okay.
Okay?
yeah. Next item is non-consolidated and consolidated financial statements. I think we made a motion at a committee level to recommend to send it to the committee of the whole.
Correct, so that should be deferred.
Deferred to the committee of the whole of September.
Yep.
And next item, correspondence, and for information, Kathy, did you,
No, my question was answered.
okay. 50% local food club. This is for information, I guess. YASTA financial statements. 2013-14 August building permit comparison, day camp attendance. It's down some, I'm checking that, the day camp attendance, the first part of it anyway,
Yeah, I
early,
think,
early on.
yeah, I
It's
think
down all the way, but,
it seems to pick up, but it appears to be the first week, maybe the information, usually when you get low attendance in the first week, you wonder how well we advertised, or how well people were paying attention when it started.
yeah,
Particularly in West Pubnico, it showed,
yeah.
but then it picks up.
It
right?
picks up, yeah. There's still a fair number of kids attending.
Yeah, yes. Yes, I think what the Recreation Department will likely recommend is a reduction of councillors so that all three would have 4 councillors. West Pubnico had 5 councillors last year, and the numbers just don't support.
Don't support, yeah,
They don't support that. The law says 1 for every 15 students.
yeah,
And we say 1 for every 12, just to be safe.
yeah,
So 5 times 12, or even 5 times 15, is not
yeah.
meeting those numbers.
That's right, yeah. Okay, something to look at, good to have the graph, and recreation will look after that, I guess.
Yes, so they'll come up with the recommendation. I think they've already come to that conclusion based on those
Yes.
figures.
Okay. Yarmouth County Solid Waste Park, minutes of 2012, April the 2nd, 2014. Request for tax adjustment, involuntary destruction.
This is,
What is that?
Yeah, I attached the policy.
Yes.
This is not a policy that you see very often. This is a policy that was passed in 2003, and I wanted to advise council that we applied this policy on a property. So there's no requirement for council approval. Council approved the policy,
Yeah.
but I really should be advising you when we apply this. So we've applied it on a property that was destroyed basically by fire, and what happens is we do an investigation first to determine that in fact that's what happened. Then when we're satisfied that occurred, we go to the assessment office. They do an assessment of the property post-fire. And so we have made an adjustment. So in this particular instance, a property transferred hands or will be transferring hands. So we wanted to make sure that the previous owner got the benefit of the refund that he is entitled to. And so the
Tax
new
refund?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that tax refund was approximately $38. Wasn't a lot. But the new owner could be entitled to a larger number, but he would have to apply. And so we've advised the parties that's what has to happen.
Okay.
So a second rebate could occur on this property.
Okay.
And if you notice the policy, it says the earliest of the following dates. So the exemption is not for the entire year. The exemption stops once the earliest of three things occur. So if it starts to get reconstructed or renovated, or the date upon which the next assessment roll is filed by the Director of Assessment Services, which is typically December.
Yeah.
So the fire occurred in June, and so that's how the rebate was calculated.
So I guess the taxes were paid
They-
prior to the fire, or?
They were paid after, in full, and
Oh.
then the rebate calculation was
Oh.
only determined after.
Okay.
So there'll be a check written to the previous owner for approximately, a
Yeah.
little less than $40.
Yeah. Nova Scotia Department of Energy press release. Route 3 paving petition, I think, was that initiated by, by our MLA, or?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, seemed to me I saw something the other day.
Richard Dawson.
Huh? Oh, Richard?
I believe Chris, yeah, there was people that wanted to get this petition started, so Chris has taken it upon himself to basically organize it, and
Yeah.
there's been a lot of people involved setting up petitions, certain places of business and whatnot. And I'm not sure if there's appropriate action we can take, it's such as a motion to support this petition, or I don't know the best way to do this, because we do, or I shouldn't say we, I receive a lot of complaints from that stretch of highway, and it being part of the lighthouse route, it's pretty important for tourism, as you know, but it's a mess. Almost 40 years since it's been paved, so there's a lot of people that are concerned about this stretch of highway, and it looks bad, but it's even worse when it's raining.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I
Like
know.
it's just 5 or 6 kilometers of hydroplaning is basically what it is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I would like to make a motion that we support this effort by Chris D'Entremont.
I'll second it.
Now, I don't know if that motion would be attached to his letter, or what's the appropriate way to do it if it passes.
What I would do, how I would execute the motion on your behalf, based on my understanding, would be that I would write a letter, that we would write a letter on behalf of council and attach this letter, address it to the same people, and send our support of the petition, and that we concur with our MLA in this matter.
I'm sure there's times when the department has gone down, well, they do, because it's a multiple of thousands of little pothole fixes, so I'm sure they're on site, but I don't think they probably realize how bad it is until, like, when it's raining, it really shows how bad it is. So I doubt if they're down there driving around in a rainstorm.
Yeah, it is bad. It is bad on a sunny day.
Yeah. But you should know you ride your bicycle.
You gotta be careful, there's cracks you can fall in.
Yeah.
So you have a motion and a seconder. All
Yeah.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Commissioners' report, Yarmouth International Airport minutes of August the 7th. And Nova Scotia Lotteries, the Casino Corporation update. They send once a year, I think, or an update. Any questions on any of those, or? Next item is financial request. I guess we don't have any, other than I noticed that our email from Mr. Frodden that the deadline is coming up for the community grants, eh? Is it the 15th, yeah, of September? Deadline to apply for the fall community grants. Not community grants, no.
Grants to organizations.
Grants to organizations, yeah, sorry. There's no deadline for the others. Yeah. Okay. Notice of motion by councillors. Anybody has a notice of motion for future meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
there's one here.
Okay.
So, did you want me to read the correspondence and then?
You can,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. So this was received by Councillor Kathy, writing on behalf of the residents of Montague Road in West Pubnico. This is not for discussion tonight, but obviously we'll bring information to you in the future. Requesting that the municipality take over Montague Road. There's a description of the length of the road and the total assessment. Main reason they're asking for that is for the safety of the children. 10 school-aged children take the bus, and also the timely snow removal, regular road maintenance, garbage pickup. Their services they all feel that they're entitled to have on that road. And there is also 6 lots for sale in that area. And so they're asking us to support the idea of taking over the road, and there's signatures of well, I would assume to be everyone, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I think there's just one missing.
There's 17 or 18 names on the petition. So so we just received this today, which is why it would maybe be better served as a notice of motion.
Yes. I'd like to make a notice of motion to discuss private roads, and probably in particular this one here, Montague Road. We've had discussions about it, but we wanted to go in depth, just to do research on private roads. To council, then we'd all be up to par with we'd be all up to par, everyone here, before we had a discussion on it.
So, okay, so what you're looking forward to table this for another meeting?
Yes,
What
yes.
you're saying, Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I received a call from Mrs. Dion, and I told her to write a letter. And, yeah. Councillor Mewis.
Maybe if we're tabling this, I was just gonna ask a question regarding this. Have they approached Department of Transportation to take over that road?
Yes.
Once there's so many houses on the road and it's built, the only thing with Department of Transportation is it has to be built to their standard. And I think that road is pretty well built.
This was built to their standards, to the department standard, but as far as I know, I'm pretty sure they approached them and
They won't take
definitely no.
Maybe they're not taking roads over again, I don't know.
They're not.
Or anymore, I guess I should say, because, I mean, they used to, as long as there were so many properties, residences on the road, and they wanted to build it to standard, then they would take it over. That would be the ideal if they could. I mean, then it would be maintained and whatever, but, no, I wasn't sure if they had approached DOT or not, that's all.
My understanding of the facts of the case at this time is that this may have been, like, so in the shared service agreement in 1996, that's when the Department of Transportation said, we're not taking over any more roads. So this one may or may, I think it was constructed prior to that, but, and we'd have to have proof that it was constructed to an engineered design, engineered standard for Department of Transportation. So that's part of the investigation, I think, that we have to do on our end in order to make sure that that standard has been met. If it's not been met, then I don't believe we can take it over. Correct. The municipal planning strategy would have to be altered significantly in order for us to accept a takeover of a road that is not engineered design. So we, Brad Fulton, our senior planner, is aware of this. Well, he hasn't seen this request, but he's aware that a request was forthcoming. So he is doing some digging, and we will have to probably contact the original construction company that may have engineered design for that road. I should note that that private road also has wastewater on it. It's connected to our system.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So there's more work to be done. Right,
So there was never no maintenance agreement by the contractor that built the road, like to entice people to buy the land and build homes there, like usually in situations like that, there's usually a maintenance agreement to keep the road up for the residents. Because
there's no maintenance agreements from us
I
because
mean,
we
that would be
have,
the first thing I would look at if I was building on a non-public road, whether the road was gonna be maintained.
I think.
The only thing that is offered by the contractor is access, because it's a private road, they ensure access only, as well as a connection to the sewer. And that's the only thing that is, I've done most of the deeds on that road from the get-go.
So how does it get plowed in the winter time?
they do it.
They do it. It's privately done.
Yeah.
So we'll gather all the relevant information and come back. But I think the biggest piece is whether or not it's engineered. If it's not an engineered design, then it would be virtually impossible for us to accommodate this request.
Yeah.
There might be a scenario where we would not take over the property, but services could be improved on the property. We don't necessarily, the services of garbage collection and children school buses, one is in our direct control, the other is not. But there are policies in place at the school board to determine whether or not they can go up and down a private road, and some of that would primarily be around turnaround and whether or not there's safety issues on that road, right? So they'd have to probably do an assessment on that, and so we might be able to advocate on their behalf for the school boards to take a look at that. That's something we might be able to do.
But that would probably be the only couple of things that we could do if we didn't take it over. We can't start maintaining it and whatever, right? Or would we look at that as well?
Well, there are other options around providing a service to the community, to the owners. Right now, my understanding is that the plowing is being done at no cost to the owners, to the landowners, the residents. So in some cases, what happens is there's a policy or bylaw at the municipal level that says we will take an amount of money out of your taxes, anybody on the street, and we will arrange for the maintenance to occur. Either that money goes to the landowner, or we would use it in order to do the maintenance. A policy of that nature exists in Clare and Barrington, where they have it's like a street bylaw, I believe it's called, where they basically act as the collector, right? And that avoids problems around like some residents deciding that maybe they don't want to pay. So we've seen evidence of that happening in other municipal units. So we'd have to we'd have to build that scenario and determine what our options are.
Okay. Question period. We have a motion to go in camera.
Motion to go in camera?
Second.
All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried.